UPI platforms and many other modes of transferring money. And what advantage would be brought about by digital currency? You have a bank account, you take out money, put it in on UPI platform, Paytm or the other platforms which are available, Google Pay and so on, and then transfer the money. What would be the added advantage in digital currency, how it is going to operate, and what was the government's intention of launching this digital currency? So we will have the answer to all these questions and perhaps many more. I'm quite aware that we have many bankers in the audience who would be knowing about it and probably would raise more questions on this. And I'm really happy that the State Bank Pensioners Association and they are joining, and so we have a pretty well informed audience, and I'm sure that Dr. Rathore's lecture will add value to our community. I would invite Dr. Pratap Singh Rathore to kindly take the floor. If you want, please sit in the audience as you are.
Thank you, Rathore. And my other distinguished presence on the dais, Shri Prabhakarji and retired bank association. Of course, I could not get the name. So, and all the other distinguished presence in the audience, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really thankful to Mr. Pradhan for inviting me to this meeting of actually myself and Shri Pradhan were together from 2007 to 2010 when he was the de facto convener or coordinator, where you can say on behalf of Bank of Baroda for State Level Bankers Committee. I don't know how he remembered me. For the last 2-3 years during the COVID, it was difficult for me to go out for lecturing. Of course, before that I had been going. It is now almost 12 years deep when I retired from Reserve Bank of India. And here I am speaking with a disclaimer that I am not speaking on behalf of Reserve Bank of India. Also, I don't claim to have any inside information about how and why this digital currency has been proposed. But I do know whatever from the academia, my own research and my own information base. Of course, a lot of social media and other things, everything has come about digital currency. And maybe a couple of things, maybe repetition for all of you, because whosoever is exposed to the social media definitely goes through the whatever news or whatever feeds they are giving. But sometimes I feel that in a hurry to take the slot first, social media sometimes gives certain information which may not be really up to the mark, that may not be exactly the correct situation. I have tried to find out and research into the factual situation on that, and I'll try to present it to all of you. Basically, I think I I have got 30 minutes time for speaking, and thereafter we can have a little question answer session, because everything cannot be covered in 30 minutes time. I shall just go on a little theoretical aspect, and thereafter exactly what digital currency is understood to be. As all of you know, the Reserve Bank as a central banker, one of the basic core functions is the management of the currency. And the power to do this management of currency comes from Section 22 of the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934. If you remember last time budget speech, the finance minister said that the bank is coming out with a plan to bring the digital currency.
Sir,
by
mic
the
pass करिए. वो mic pass करिए.
by the
Yes.
by the name CBDC, Central Bank's Digital Currency. It was just an information, and it was a surprise that what is this going to come. But in case we go through the ecosystem which was developing at that particular point of time, was with reference to the cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies, as you know, anybody can have some knowledge of the computer. I am not expert in the information technology and other things, so if some words or certain things go wrong, please forgive me. But as I understand that there is a program which can be run, and based on certain algorithms, they bring out some kind of consequential result, and which is treated as a very valuable thing. Lot of efforts have gone, lot of money has gone into it, so that is treated as an intrinsic value of that. And thereafter, that particular intrinsic value, on that basis, they are putting it in the market, they are transferring funds on that basis, and to a certain extent, even the criminals and kidnappers made it popular because they started demanding the ransom in the bitcoins. You might have heard the name of the bitcoins. Of course, these days they also call it as stable coins. Anything connected with this kind of currency is called stable coins. And this is all being done in the by the general public. Anybody can do it privately. Now, what happens? We have got a full developed system which has come in the existence on the basis of thousands of years of the history of currency. Probably in the beginning stage, when people were not having all that know-how, they were bartering the things for one thing to another. It was extremely difficult to value it. It was extremely difficult to store the value. It was extremely difficult to account for it. And that gave rise to search for certain other intrinsic thing, and they come out. There were many things which have been there. Cattle was at one point of time treated as money. Tobacco was treated as money. Seashells, various kind of seeds, anything attractive which was available, and that has been tried. But ultimately they came to the three metals: silver, coin, gold and copper. And its mixture. There is a natural mixture of gold and silver, which is called as electrum, and that gave rise to the minting of coins, basically, whereby gold and silver could be mixed, or they can be pure coins, gold coin, silver coin, and mixed coins, depending upon how a particular sovereign or how a particular empire or king, they did their own research into it, and they tried to make themselves either famous, or they tried to provide that means of economic exchange. Now, it is very natural that some people do try to earn money without doing anything. And that started happening, then these coins and these metals they started getting debased. To an extent that at one particular point of time, even Louis XV, the Emperor of France, he had become so dishonest that people had started really disbelieving the coins issued by him, which were supposed to be gold and silver coin. And in that particular situation, one lost LAWS by name, and he was supposed to be a financial genius, and he went from England, I think it was from Dutch, I may be wrong, whether it was England or Dutch, and there he started the paper money bank notes, and these bank notes had more valuable existence than the coins issued by the French government at that point of time. Of course, he had died and there was a regent which was appointed for a 9-year-old heir of the Louis XV. And ultimately this man had become so famous by doing the normal banking that he was appointed Comptroller General of the France, you can say the finance minister or one of the financial dictators. Of course, naturally the greed brought him down and he had to live a very, very ignoble existence in somewhere in the Europe later on. So that is what happens with the money. Anybody who comes and tries to do something which you cannot as corruption, and thereafter something new has to be found out. Of course, the history of currency goes back into England, where because of long wars, the goldsmiths were keeping the gold and coin with themselves and thereafter issuing the notes, and that became precursor for the bank notes. And that's how it is a travel from barter to various kind of search for money in various ways, finding metal and then coins, and thereafter the paper money. Now the paper money we have seen for almost say at least for the last 600 to 700 years, that a lot of effort has been put, lot of banking has developed around it, central banking has developed around it. There have been put various means and various methods which are running the present financial system. All of us are there who know what is the paper currency. Our bank notes are there. We don't go to the Reserve Bank of India asking for that grams of gold which might be assured there as a redeemed money. When the redemption is wanted, people go change their notes and get back the notes. That becomes the currency. Because it is currency because you settle your final things. You have got trust in a particular institution, a government, a bank, a central bank. That, well, this is the money. Wherever I am going to, is a legal tender. You simply give that particular thing and extinguish your debt. That is what is the legal tender is. And that is all governed, supervised and guaranteed by the central bank in the first hand and the government of the country on the second hand. Now, so with all these things, there is a lot of payment system which has been developed. Actually in India, the digital payment system is very good compared to all the governments all over the world where this is there. I think we are in the line of being one of the best. Almost it has increased in last few years, I will say last 7-8 years, up to a very high level. You see 1990 when the economy started opening up under the changed regime, Dr. Manmohan Singh and others, there was continuous development in the payment system. ECS, it started with the electronic clearing system, and thereafter, now where we are, almost every 5 years there has been one new thing which has been coming. At present, we are having internet banking, we are having certain private players giving the wallets, banks are giving, UPI is there. We are all having on this payment system which has been there. And suddenly you find that there creeps into some private parties and which are trying to destabilize this. You might have read some of the news items like a Bitcoin. One Bitcoin was commanding a value of something like $65,000 in 1 month. And people rushed into investing into it, and when it got opened, even in India people were doing it. And suddenly one day within 20 days time or 25 days time it came down to $35,000. Now you see the persons who would have invested their heavily personally earned money, what will happen to them? In the payment system, you are simply saying, I was not joking. These days, international kidnappings, they ask the ransom in the Bitcoins. Police does not know. Agencies do not know how to tackle it. They do not know how the payment will go, how to tackle it. So, what will happen in case all this terror funding, etc., increases because of that? Or what happens to the normal supervising by the central bank of the things? These days, a system has been made of a monetary policy. Reserve Bank will announce certain repo rates and other things just to see that how the prices move in the system, how the inflation is being controlled. And there comes somebody which will totally do something which will send haywire all the monetary policy, all the payment system, everything will be out of the line. So in that situation, the banks and the central banks as well as the governments had to come out with something whereby an answer should be provided. And it is not so that the digital currency which is coming right now has been just a matter of somebody's whims and fancy or somebody's innovation and he comes back. The things are going on for last 10 years almost, thinking about the Bank for International Settlement actually has given certain foundational principles on the basis of which it was decided that the currency which is presently in digital form has to somehow, it has to brought into an online system, and the speed which attracts people for the settlement, that can be provided to it. And central banks were given freedom to see that whatever their necessities in their own jurisdiction, how they are going to devise it. Presently, almost, if I am not wrong, almost 99 countries are there where these projects are going on. That how to bring out a digital currency along with their own paper currency, whereby it should suit the people and it should be acceptable as any other currency or paper currency right now is. That is the challenge. And nobody has come out with a final thing till now. Of course, I think in this also, China is much ahead of many countries who have really put the digital currency in a much more advanced sense into the general public. There are 6 other countries which have also developed, I think it's Singapore, Japan, 2-3 more countries which are quite advanced. And I think India is the 7th country which has really come out with this digital currency. And that too, of course, it has taken about 1 year's time, because the time given by the Finance Minister was 1 year. They said that this year, that was budget was for 22, so 1 year's time was given to them. I think 7th October, Reserve Bank of India came out with a concept paper whereby they tried to explain what are the parameters under which they are going to do it. But of course, it is not a full document which will explain everything. And on 29th October, they came out, 29th October or so, they came out with a notification that they are going for a pilot program whereby digital currency will be issued for wholesale sector. And I think 29th November they have come out where they said that it is going to be started from 1st December for the retail sector. When we say wholesale sector, it means where the requirement of the funds and its transfer or its settlement is in bulk. And retail sector is anybody, whatever transactions one wants to do, maybe an individual, maybe about association, a body, or a financial institution. So quite often we see there are big transactions in the government securities. There are many more things, government securities also involved, included. But this particular pilot which has been started, it is only for the government securities, taking care of the government securities transactions. And basically, if I go into the detail of that, when a currency is issued, there are a number of things which have to be seen. The first thing which is to be seen is what is going to be its design and what is going to be objective. Now, if you see the paper money or the currency which we have got in our pocket, what does it do? It is used for exchange, it is used for accounting, it is used as a store of value. You keep 100 rupees, you can keep it for a year's time. After a year's time, you will take it out and still it will be 100 rupees. Of course, the inflation and the price rise and other things, what might have happened, purchasing power is different. But the, I'm going to say the value remains 100 rupees. So it is a store of value. It is acceptability. Everywhere you can go, even a beggar meets you on the who does not have even clothes to wear or something to eat. You give him money or coin or whatever it is acceptable everywhere, every nook and corner, within the jurisdiction of the government of India. Now, digital currency, when it has been brought, first thing what has been done, the section 22 has been amended, and along with the bank notes, it has been said, now Reserve Bank will also issue digital currency. So that means Reserve Bank has got two instruments with itself at present, which it will be managing and from which it will be treated as a central bank currency. Now, the paper currency we have already seen. Digital currency, it has to be found out what is going to be the objective. Now, are you going to make it into an investment kind of instrument? That means, because you are competing with whom? Cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency gives you this opportunity that you can invest into it. Second, how fast you are going to be? Definitely paper currency moves by physical transactions. It is not so fast. And you have tried to make it as fast as possible by bringing in internet banking. You have got various options there. NEFT is there, RTGS is there, IMPS is there. Now immediately you can transfer the funds. But what is the involvement there? What are that? Two accounts are involved. One, first obstacle, accounts have to be there in the bank. Second obstacle, you have to have various kind of instrumentation. There is devices which are required. then you have to have a platform on which you are going to function. You have to have a service provider who will be doing it. And also, for last, you have to have an internet. If all these things, anything fails, your speed is simply nullified. Same thing happens whether you take Paytm. What they have done there, okay. You don't require to go and get an one-time password and other thing. You put some money. Reserve Bank had allowed 10,000. I think now they have increased it to 20,000, I believe. And this you can keep it in that like a wallet in this thing. And in that anybody, I mean, sir, it is not necessary that only you can do it. If your mobile is in hands of somebody else, or your son, or your daughter, or he can also transfer the funds from wallet to somebody if he is purchasing something. Maybe money may not go. Money as it is, you may not be able to create a deposit. But that all depends upon the service providers at Paytm. If they have opened a bank, they can probably allow that facility too. So like that, there are certain impediments. It is not exactly that you take the money and send it and it will be a final settlement. Now when we have brought in digital currency and that too issued by the central bank of the country, then it will be a direct settlement. It will go with the same speed by which whatever methods have been adopted for the paper currency. Paper currency methods are there are various things, and subject to that only that final settlement will be there. Some time definitely will be taken. Maybe 6 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. And you know what happens, one more basic advantage which comes. The cross-border transactions, the foreign exchange transactions, which are heavy in amount. And they are very important for those banks which are involved in that particular transaction. There even a delay of 10 seconds can bring in bankruptcy of a bank. Those who are in the banks would have read earlier how certain bank in Germany, it went down in a matter of half an hour, and because certain delays were there in the payments. So if the economy is moving so fast, then in case you are able to settle your things in that final currency and that goes immediately, that is the advantage which comes along with this particular currency, digital currency, because it is currency. It is not a method of payment. It is not a subject matter of payment alone. It is a currency which as it is you use and finally settle your things. So that is how the digital currency differs from the UPI, or it differs from the various kind of other payment systems. How it differs from the cash, that is where we have to see. It differs from the cash because in cash you simply require the cash. Once it is printed, distributed, stored, checked, there is a lot of paraphernalia is there, from printing press to Reserve Bank currency chests, to bank and various currency chests which are maintained on behalf of the Reserve Bank of India. And thereafter it goes out from the counters of the either Reserve Bank of India or the bank. But thereafter it is free. Just one has to hand over the thing and the other person gets the ownership of it and he can further pass it on. That is where the matter ends. As far as digital currency is here, you will require a mobile or you will require a device. And as on date, it will be internet based. Offline solutions are not there, whereby without internet, whether it can be done. I will not say that these solutions are not there. Visa has brought out a solution for an offline method of disbursing digital currency, but the danger is they are not protecting you from a double payment. So it is like forgery of a paper printing. You can have a 100 rupee note, somebody can forge it, this thing, and there will be a second payment. So that is like that. So it cannot be accepted. Actually, all these researches and all these data that require time, and we are moving ahead at a fast speed to show to those persons who are trying to disrupt it that we are also there to meet your challenge. And in that, there is less data available for doing the things. And that is why the Reserve Bank, and it will never do something which should go early like that. So, what it has found out, that let us go in a pilot type of programs. And in doing that, what has been done is, they have seen that we will have to divide the use of the digital currency into two aspects. One, wholesale, and the retail. For wholesale, a pilot has been introduced. For a retail, a pilot has been now introduced. Everywhere, these are only selected customers who have been given authority to transact. As far as wholesale is concerned, there also the issue comes that how are you going to keep the record of this? The record of it can be done either totally centralized, that only Reserve Bank of India will do it because it is a central bank currency. Reserve Bank will trust, as it has been doing the banking intermediaries, all banks and others, and give them the responsibility that you manage it, we will manage. We have only laid down the policy and decided it. But there is a hybrid system whereby the central bank also is involved and the bank is also involved. And that's what has been decided to be followed in the country. That as far as wholesale sector is concerned, where bulk payments are there is no need of having any kind of semblance of this currency. The funds can move from account to account. There are two accounts which are kept in one ledger. Somebody requires, say, 1 lakh rupees to be transferred to another entity. It will simply make the entries there, which is to be, one is debited, another is to be credited. There is no movement of any symbolized digital currency. So that is for the wholesale sector, Reserve Bank keeps the record. And there is no problem of privacy or anonymity, because these big institutions which are passing are for whatever purpose they are being passed. They are not concerned about privacy, or they are not concerned about anonymity. So the Reserve Bank of India keeps the record. When it comes to the retail sector, here all of us are involved. Today we are using paper currency, and the challenge is before the Reserve Bank and the government is that how to move away from the paper currency, not to supplant it. I am not at all even for one moment saying that digital currency has been brought in for doing away or totally supplanting the present currency or coins which are there. It has only come for taking certain market share which paper currency has got. And as on date, as all of you know, and you would have seen the statistics, we are spending almost approximately between 4,000 to 5,000 crores per year for printing of currency. And this particular amount, whatever less is required, that will be a saving. There are certain social media platforms which have said that all 400 crores will be saved. All of that is not possible, because whatever total currency you have got, totally it cannot move from that to digital currency. That is not possible. Well, that can be in the realm of possibility, but that will never happen. One of the things is our population. Our population, we have got about 65% coverage as far as mobile is concerned. 65% people are using. That's very high as far as international standards are concerned. But still, there is 35% which does not have mobile, and probably they will not be able to have it. That is the condition. We have got illiteracy rate, which is still, I want to say, although people are getting their degrees, their other things, the literacy does not mean only getting that certificate. You should be able to apply that literacy. And when we come to that, you know, the word financial inclusion comes, whereby how many people are really using the banks or other financial products for their own benefit. Especially one thing, opening the account itself. I want to say our financial inclusion has been very much concentrated on opening the accounts by all these Jan Dhan account and everything that is towards that financial inclusion thing. Now this rating, even during the last 8 years when it has been said that so many accounts have been opened and other things, say a decade back, if the financial literacy index was at around 52%, even as on date it is only 59. So, lot of efforts are there whereby almost 41% people, they just don't know what banking is. So, in that situation, a population is growing. Whatever standards of education are there, they will take a lot of time to improve to whatever extent they have come. I don't find anything, personally I don't find any reason to believe that possibility when digital currency will supplant the paper currency totally 100% is not possible. Not at least in my lifetime. Sure enough. So the question is, it is not to be seen that the digital currency is going to be forced on you, is going to be the only currency which will be utilized. So that fear need not come that what will happen, I don't know how the digital currency will operate. You will have an option according to your dependence or interdependence, you shall be. So that thing must be clear, that there is not going to be a forcing of the digital currency on anyone. It is available. If you feel like, you can use it. If you don't feel like, you don't use it. It all depends upon what your need is. The accounting for this will be with the banks. For this retail sector, CBDCR we can say, or in small terms they use it small e and the sign of rupee, ER, WRER, retail. That is the thing. So, ER retail is with banks, and banks will be issuing some method, maybe wallet, or maybe just like we have got a Paytm wallet or another thing. And for opening that, whatever method is presently used, they are only being used. The only thing is, what has been said by them is that it will be limited to the selected customers of the banks who shall be getting an invite from the bank that you please join this project, this pilot. There will also be institutions, merchants, they will also be invited to. And probably the choice will be done in an educated manner, whereby different kind of sectors are represented there. And the banks will send that invite, and then the person has to have an account in the bank. And naturally they will probably invite only account holders. It is not possible as on date that they will pick up somebody from the street and invite and he will go and open the account. No, that is not so. So they will invite from their own customers. And then this particular thing will start whereby they can use the digital currency for making payments or receiving payments between person to person and person to merchants. Merchants are going to be provided with one more facility, just like in Paytm you have got a QR code. They will also be provided with a QR code, and you can utilize that particular method further. And then it will be seen what are the difficulties that are coming. And difficulties are very likely to come. Not likely, they will come. Because that is the history which we have seen. Right from the barter stage till whatever I said, there were always some problems, and those problems were brought in further developments. So here also they will come. As it is technology based. They have chosen one of the safest technology called blockchain technology. Chances of cyber crimes or cyber frauds are less, but they are not zero. They can never be zero. One of the reasons is that somebody does the coding, and it all depends upon his own honesty. In case he is not honest, then anywhere the fraud can be committed. So there can be problems of like that, and it has to be seen what is going to be. Second is, the Indian public is very choosy. If there is one time that difficulty comes, the decision will be, I will not use it from tomorrow. And if that is the decision, the experiment gets killed as far as that particular person is concerned. So our data gets corrupted. We don't get the data as probably that is available in the Europe and United States of America. Because of these kind of tendencies which can happen. So problems will be there. And then when the problems are there, then the Reserve Bank and the Government of India has to see that how efficiently they are able to remove those problems, how efficiently they are able to give solution to it. And it should be satisfactory to the customer, not to the system. In the system we have got, I am now being a law person, I am practicing also. And it was good that I started practicing, because I had a very high opinion about how the legal system and the judiciary and others work. But now after coming in the profession, I find if somebody comes to me, says that I want to file a suit, my first impression is, I don't do it. I definitely say I don't do it. But my first impression is to tell him that please settle it outside. Don't come to the judiciary. Don't come to the court system. Because the time is not in our hands. You can have a very, very good lawyer, you can have Harish Salve for it, who charges probably 3 crores rupees for one appearance. But will he get the decision? Very much unlikely. Because it all depends upon that 10%. There is lot of logic, lot of science involved in giving decisions and other things. But that 10% subjectiveness remains. So that subjectiveness remains everywhere. And in that situation, how fast the solutions to the grievances which we'll have in the digital currency system will be solved, that will